Welcome to Sunday service. I hope you're having a really relaxing morning. It's snowing here up in Door County. If it's snowing where you are, I hope you're enjoying the flakes. And if it's not snowing, I hope you're enjoying not shoveling the flakes. We'll get started with our program in about 4 minutes, and I'll let you enjoy the ambiance of the hustle and bustle as we get ready for our wonderful time together.
Trisha's going in a week. The first hymn is
Roberts.
Yeah.
9 years old. Porters of this farm community that are. Wow. How can we close that? Wow.
Oh, and then it's got metal trims.
Wow. Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Stamps.
It's certainly not.
Are you giving hugs?
So,
Anyway, so this is from the. Your segment.
very anxious for spring
And-
gardening.
It might be, but these, oh my God, that's longer, but it's the new stretched out like this and then all the new angels are. Probably up into the Dorset.
This guy, yeah, sure.
Go see it. Well, okay, that exhibit's gonna be there till April 3rd. Okay. So. Okay, we can figure that out. Article. He's kind of related spirit to. Yes, I'm not gonna be there.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I think the camera is. I did.
So what?
Well, Kathleen's talking about Peninsula State Park, so I'm gonna sing some songs for my musical about Peninsula State Park too.
Maybe somewhere else.
Two of the three that I'll sing today are from that musical, including this one. I am the fisherman's daughter. I know waves and wind. I know salt and barrels and tin. I know the ways of the water. I know blades and twine. I always was his rock of Gibraltar, and he was mine. cut a clearing, built a cabin, planted an apple tree. He learned how to fish from Doc and from Dory. Took a wife at 33. She died at 40, left him 2 daughters, Nora and me. Nora, always the smart one, took a job in Chicago. I stuck around. Now it's been 2 years that Papa's been gone. She went back to the city the very same day that we laid him in the ground. When we were the fishermen's daughters, we knew how the days would end. Like candle in the window, guide him back home again. We knew how to pray, he'd be safe on the water. We knew how to pace the floor. But now Nora, I don't know if I should leave the light in the window for you anymore.
Thank you so much. So beautiful opening to this Sunday morning service. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County. We are about to enter sacred time. We are about to make this time and this place sacred by our presence and intention. Please turn off or silence your cell phones, as you do, I invite us to also turn down the volume on our fears, to remove the invisible masks, and to loosen the armor around our hearts. Don't take my word for it. Do it as slowly as you need to. If you take a little risk with these good people, you may find that they have the same human needs as you do. Breathe. Let go of expectations placed on you by others and those they taught you to place on yourself. Drop the guilt and the shame, not to shirk accountability, but in honest expectation of the possibility of forgiveness. Let go of the thing you said the other day. Let go of the thing you dread next week. Be here in this moment. Breathe. Here. My name is Donna Johnson, and I'm your service leader this morning. On behalf of the fellowship, I extend a special welcome to any visitors who may be with us for the first time, or those of you who may have been away for a while and have come back. It is our custom to ask visitors to introduce themselves. So if you are here for the first time, we ask you to stand if you are able. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and maybe a word about what brought you here today. Anybody willing to? Okay. We're all good friends. Excellent. I'm very pleased to welcome to our fellowship today Kathleen Harris. She's currently an educator at the Ephraim Historical Foundation, and prior to that, she spent 25 years as a Peninsula State Park naturalist, and in 2020, she published the book From the Lookout, Peninsula State Park's Summer Camp for Girls, chronicling the history of Camp Menega in the park from 1916 to 1948. At this time, if there are any announcements related to the fellowship, please share those now. Please wait for a microphone to be brought to you so that all may hear your announcement, and please identify yourself when making your announcement so that those who are streaming in can know who is speaking. Any announcements? Okay, excellent. Please stand in body or spirit and join in the singing of the opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, which is, no, she's going to be instructing us on the singing of the hymn, number 188 in your hymnal. And now I'll turn it over to Carol.
Okay, hymn number 188, which is really not a hymn, it's a song, okay? And when you look at it, there's no accompaniment, so I'm not at the piano. And there's numbers on it. If you look at the numbers, you're probably wondering what the heck are the numbers for? It's really a round. And so when you see a number, that means another part is supposed to come in. I'm going to divide you, because we don't have that many people here today. I'm going to divide you right here, okay? So you will come in with me at the beginning, and you will come in with Donna at number 2 on the song, okay? We're going to sing it through once all together, then we'll sing it through another time, starting with number 1, then number 2 will come in, and then we'll sing it 2 times. Got it? Okay.
Singing together. They aren't starting at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
All together.
Come,
Yes.
come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of the evening, hearts no care of despair. Come, again, come.
Let's try that again.
Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of the evening, ours is no care, no fear, of despair. Come, yet again, come.
Okay.
Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of the evening, ours is no care, no fear, of despair. Ours is yet again, of despair. Come, yet again, whoever you are, wonder, worshiper, lover of the evening, ours is no care, of despair. Ours is yet again, of despair. Come, yet again, come.
Thank you. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life. This year, International Women's Day fell on the same day as World Forest Day. And therefore I came across a poem entitled Breathe by Becky Hemsley from her collection of poems, Talking to the Wild. She sat at the back and they said she was shy. She led from the front and they hated her pride. They asked her advice and then questioned her guidance. They branded her loud and then were shocked by her silence. When she shared no ambition, they said it was sad. So she told them her dreams and they said she was mad. They told her they'd listen, then covered their ears and gave her a hug whilst they laughed at her fears. And she listened to all of it thinking she should be the girl they told her to be as best she could. But one day she asked what was best for herself instead of trying to please everyone else. So she walked to the forest and stood with the trees. She heard the wind whisper and dance with leaves, and she spoke to the willow, the elm, and the pine, and she told them what she had been told time after time. She told them she felt she was never enough. She was either too little or far, far too much. Too loud or too quiet, too fierce or too weak, too wise or too foolish, too bold or too meek. Then she found a small clearing surrounded by firs, and she stopped and she heard what the trees said to her. And she sat there for hours, not wanting to leave. For the forest said nothing, it just let her breathe. Please stand and bow your spirit and join in the unison affirmation followed by the singing of the doxology. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. At this time, you are invited to share any joys you may have so that we may celebrate with you. And if you have any concerns that burden you, feel free to share so that we may offer solace and support. Please identify yourself when you share, and please wait for a microphone to be brought to you. Trish has the microphone. Keep in mind that the service is being broadcast and will be on the internet, so please do not share about another person if you do not have permission from them to do so.
Well, I will share just an update on Phil Freistack, who had quadruple bypass on March 1st. We saw him yesterday, day before, something recently. And he was home. He just gotten the staples and stitches out. What was supposed to be a 4 to 6 hour surgery turned out to be like an 8-hour surgery. So he's home. He's doing well. He's thrilled to be home, but it's been a rough go, as one can only imagine, to have your body brutalized like that just so you can continue to live. We're happy that he's doing so well.
Okay, thank you, Trish. We will now accept your offerings. If you prefer, you can make your donation online from our website, uufdc.org. You'll find the donate button on the far right of the homepage. It's easy, safe, and secure to make your payment from there. Please give generously to support the work of the fellowship.
I need a little breathing room city need a little green and blue. And I'm feeling tired and gray. Oh, I need that sweet perfume. I'm feeling maddened by the city, place of deep refuge from the loneliness of my day. A place for the tired and worn to come and rest by the water. A place for the spirit that's torn by the weariness of life. A place for the old to be reborn. Come and rest by the water beneath the hemlock and the hawthorn. Free from the stress and the strife. So we'll make a little breathing room for those who are crowded in the city. Leave a little green and blue for those who are tired and gray. Just a little sweet perfume for those who are maddened by the city. A place of deep refuge. A place of deep refuge, a place of deep refuge from the loneliness of their day.
Please join in a moment of quiet before the message.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be here in this sanctuary and community of reflection, sharing a Door County story with women at the center. How apropos, since International Women's Day was this past Wednesday, March 8th, and March is Women's History Month. I want to thank also Katie and Donna for bringing in nature through song and through your poem. That was an unexpected surprise for me, and I really appreciate it. Transformation in changing times, lessons from Camp Monaga. What can a 20th century girls camp tell us about ourselves and today's Door County community? It turns out quite a bit. I hope you will agree and find this reflection meaningful. I'll draw on stories unearthed while writing from The Lookout, a book about Camp Monaga in Peninsula State Park, published by the Wisconsin Historical Society Press. But this isn't a book talk. It's more of a response to fragments of historical events and social trends reflected in camp's history. I'll note and imply many lessons one can glean from the Camp Monaga story. One lesson is that we are shaped for better and for worse by the times we live in, by chance meetings and unplanned life events, by opportunities to experience other viewpoints, by often helpful but sometimes destructive indoctrination of institutions. Such heady statements are not part of the written narrative in From the Lookout, which simply seems to be about a happy camp in idyllic Door County. But if you examine its history through the lives of those who lived it, you'll find ways to feel unstuck and unafraid. You'll find ways to thrive in turbulent times. A book can only hold so many pages. What's more, the ongoing upload of information on the internet continues to reveal incredible intersections. For example, I didn't know at the time of publication in 2020 that Peg Egan, the person for whom Egg Harbor's Performing Arts Center is named, was a 1930 Monaga counselor. In the roster, she's listed as Peggy Hebsch. That's German for pretty, that last name meaning. Nor did I know that Wisconsin Appellate Court Judge Lisa Neubauer is the granddaughter of camp co-founder Kaidi Mabley. Over 1,300 girls attended Monaga during its 33-year run, which began in 1916. Most were from wealthy backgrounds. Alice Holtz, whose father was a diamond merchant with vast land holdings in Door County, including land that became Newport State Park. The Kimberleys from Appleton, the Turnbull twins, daughters of newspaper tycoon and Green Bay Packers first president, Andrew Turnbull. I brought a banjolin from Camp Monaga, a real 1920s banjolin with the Turnbulls' names on it and the names of many other girls for you to look at afterwards. A few campers like Ruthie Doolittle, the daughter of the Peninsula State Park manager, attended on scholarship. Camp straddled uncertain, sometimes desperate, even violent times, 2 world wars with the Great Depression sandwiched in between. It employed many people, a good PR move for the state, which had essentially evicted families with scant recompense to establish Peninsula State Park. Scores of Door County residents worked at camp. Krauses, Frankies, Bertos, Agnes Johnson Gauger, Libby Gould, Tootsie Pyle, Duncan Thorpe, Emery Jansen. He was an Ephraim man who tragically died in March 1944 when the truck he and his brother were driving plunged through the ice. I could go on and on. But it's time to meet the woman at the center of Camp Monaga, Alice Orr Clark and Kaidi Mabley. In 1915, they met at the Veiled Prophet Parade, a fascinating St. Louis tradition with long ago beginnings steeped in classism. They were accompanied by their children, who were school chums. Kaidi, no stranger to heartache, was apparently nonplussed by Mrs. Clark's uncertain social position. Above the din of the parade, conversation moved beyond polite inquiries to the realization that they had both been grappling with the same problem, financial independence. They decided to join forces and start a summer camp for girls. They could earn money and, what's more, cultivate a sense of purpose that would steady them through transformative times. Kaidi's and Alice's partners are not part of this story, except as catalysts that changed the trajectory of their lives. Here's what happened. Kaidi's husband, a doctor, contracted tuberculosis. At the time, nearly 1 in 7 people died of TB. Dr. Mabley sought treatment at a sanatorium, but eventually succumbed, leaving Kaidi to raise 3 girls. Incidentally, their eldest daughter, Frances, who died quite young, was the first wife of renowned Missouri conservationist Leonard Hall. Kaidi supported her children with help from her parents. Her father was a nationally known teacher in industrial arts education, but mostly by working at a St. Louis high school cafeteria. Alice's husband, he had run off with a showgirl from New York. True story, leaving her to raise 2 children. In the words of her grandson, in their social circle and sensibilities of the era, such things were not de rigueur, though it was more common than spoken about. If one transgressed, one was ostracized. The separation and eventual divorce were financially catastrophic and socially horrifying. Alice presented herself as a widow most of her life. Apparently, some social elite considered her religious affiliation unbefitting too. After becoming partially deaf in one ear, she switched churches and joined the rather new Church of Christ Scientist, with its emphasis on healing through prayer. One family story recounted a former friend passing Alice in the street and spitting on her. Alice didn't waver. Throughout her life, her chosen faith was a source of great strength. Alice's religion did influence camp, but not as you might expect. For example, Menage always employed medical staff. By the time Alice joined forces with Kaidi, she and the children had moved back to the family home where two sisters still lived. Alice, well, she was an aging socialite, a 41-year-old white, upper-class, divorced mother. Shaped by a privileged Victorian girlhood, seeking a common job or even a professional one seemed unthinkable. She just needed cash flow to experience a bit of independence. She needed a room of her own, or breathing room, we might say, after hearing the poem and the song today. At Menage, that breathing room became a refurbished farmhouse named The Cottage. In St. Louis, it was in time a red brick house, a home that she purchased with her own money. I can't help identifying with Alice Orr Clark. I see my life reflected in hers, and I wonder how she kept it together. Was it having a few really good friends? Kaidi, her business partner, Mr. Doolittle, the loyal park manager, Elizabeth Crunden, the rather wealthy pal, who coaxed her into looking at the old Evanson farm on Shore Road and then fronted $1,000 to jumpstart camp. Alice's grandson wrote, "My grandmother was one of determination and fortitude, so very soft-spoken, but not shy and not afraid to step out and do what she had to do. She was a very good person with people. She knew the proper role of discipline, though certainly not a martinet, how to shape character, and in her newfound role became a leader in which she shone, a teacher and a mentor, a guiding light." He used the phrase "born to the purple," meaning a person born with immense talent that shapes the path they might not otherwise have followed. Unexpected life events certainly prodded both Alice and Kaidi in a new direction. We must let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us, wrote Joseph Campbell. What a perfect description of these women's response to challenging circumstances. Knowing their circumstances, it's not surprising that Alice and Kaidi teamed up to run a camp that prepared their girls for what lay ahead. "We are trying to teach our girls to think," Clark wrote in the 1935 brochure. "Each girl has her place, her individuality, and as such, she must learn to take her part in the great whole. She must realize her responsibility, first to herself and then to others, what she must contribute, and what she must get out of community life." A camper put it this way in the 1921 Pack and Paddle. From our little world, we look out on one big one that is whirling by with a rapidity that at times frightens us, yet intrigues us all at the same moment. We are frightened because we do not see how our simple lives are involved in that big world of affairs. We must realize that each one of us, in her little circle, by laboring in an altruistic spirit, is playing her part, for it is only after doing one's best in one's own sphere that one is fitted for playing a greater part in service to the world. So, between riding gorgeous saddle-bred horses, English style, of course, on park trails and to faraway places like the old Alpine Hotel, and hiking to Wilson's for ice cream, singing songs all the way, for no one back then listened to music on self-isolating earbuds. There were service projects. Girls wrapped bandages for Red Cross war efforts and performed tableaux vivants to raise money for Belgian war orphans. But campers also occasionally performed plays and songs in blackface. Know that at the time, a few Door County hotels posted signs reading Gentiles only, and no coloreds and no Jews. Jewish girls did attend camp, and an African-American couple, Bill and Adele Davis, did work there in the 1920s. I can share a bit more about the Davises if you're interested later. They were part of a Door County labor force that has gone largely unacknowledged and unappreciated. People of color, cooks, nannies, and orchard workers were here in the early 20th century. They are still here, engaged as chefs, musicians, healthcare workers, and so much more. It's important to acknowledge something else. The name of camp itself, Menagha. The name is a corruption of an Ojibwa word that means blueberry. And I can say more about that if you're interested in the discussion after the service. So, another Menagha lesson, an uncomfortable one, is knowing when to love something, even if you don't admire its parts. Is love, or even like, binary? Is it either or? I love the story of Camp Menagha. I am grateful to have met so many people with tales of friendship who loved this land. People who learned how to live joyfully, if only now and then. The characters, the setting resurrect my own parents, not because they ever attended summer camp, they were too poor, but because Menagha's historical context and the way of doing things was something they experienced. There is a passage in From the Lookout that describes how a wood cook stove works. It's drawn from a conversation I had with my beloved mother, who grew up with one. I'm grateful that a story from Door County's collective past conjures up personal memories. I'm grateful for the experience it has offered me. I remember walking the grounds of Camp Menagha with Irene Pringle, who traveled from Missouri to work in Menagha's kitchen. We watched the sun set together just a few years before she passed away, sitting on the remains of the old lookout, an old lime kiln remodeled into a gazebo by park carpenter Hubert Warfel. Irene told me how she carefully saved her earnings in 1946 to buy the latest thing, a wristwatch. Then there was Edith Leopold, the niece of conservationist Aldo Leopold. I never spoke with Edith, but read about how she and others canoed. And mind you, these were old canvas-covered canoes. These were heavy canoes. Canoed from Fish Creek to Gills Rock, then went renegade to Washington Island. Today, an Audubon Wildlife Sanctuary in Connecticut bears her name. It's where Edith and her friend Mary Dwyer once lived. Edith was a camp counselor in 1940. The following year, just months before the attack on Pearl Harbor, she became a first lieutenant in the U.S. Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, WAC. Edith wasn't alone in joining up. Adolpha Meyer, a Menagha counselor from St. Louis, she served as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army Nurse Corps at much lower pay than her male counterparts. In 1942, Adolpha and other nurses were suddenly imprisoned at a civilian concentration camp at Santo Tomas University in Manila. They nursed about 4,000 civilian prisoners, including survivors of the infamously famous Bataan Death March. These nurses became known as the Angels of Bataan. A Managa girl was an angel of Bataan. And then there were those who became household names, at least for a time. I'll mention two, ironically, both men, reflecting the behind-the-scenes role women had then in public life and news cycles. First, Clark Clifford, the Secretary of Defense for Lyndon Johnson, who worked at Managa pitching tents on canvas platforms, hauling wood, stacking canoes, tasks then considered too difficult and dangerous for girls. It was Managa's early years when directors Clark and Madeley still assured parents that their daughters would only be allowed to participate in one strenuous activity a day. Many, including some doctors, still believed vigorous exercise could damage a woman's womb. The early years were also a time when Managa tennis matches were not allowed to be seen by any outsiders. All that running and jumping was considered indecorous for young ladies. My, how athletics and perceptions of both femininity and women's bodies changed over Managa's 33-year history. The second man was World War II Flying Tiger fighter pilot James Howard. Later, he became an Air Force brigadier general. His story illustrates the way world events interrupted and enriched Camp's idyllic routine. In 1945, several weeks before VJ Day, he was on military leave. James visited his sisters at Camp Managa, and he spoke at lunch, called dinner at the time, of the new discovery. What was this new discovery? The thing that would end the war, but start the world on another dangerous path. The atomic bomb. A camper nicknamed Peanuts recorded the amazing and at the time most welcome news in the camp yearbook, Pack and Paddle. She wrote, "He told us of the great damage it did in Japan and that he felt that soon the war would be over." Imagine, Managa girls heard such news before so many others. Peanuts, by the way, was good friends with fellow camper Janice Chamberlain, who married Scott Pierce, the brother of Barbara Pierce. Yes, that Barbara Pierce, the woman who married George Bush. In other words, the future sister-in-law of Barbara Bush attended Managa. Janice is still alive, and I've been exchanging Christmas cards with her for several years. And I brought a little note that she wrote me following the death of her sister-in-law, Barbara Bush. What people did at Camp Managa inspired and precipitated greatness in their lives and the lives of others. Alice and Kaidi chose to gaze outward and forward rather than drown inward. They were practical women, grounded in the here and now, but keen on enriching the lives of others. They were attentive. Camp Managa thrived because they, and in turn their girls, embraced transformation. By creating purpose in their own lives, Alice and Kaidi modeled living with intention and joy in turbulent times. There is an arc that connects them to the generations who grew into womanhood as they grew into old age. Find what happened between the beginning and the end of Menaga's historical arc, and you'll discover lessons of how to live a life of grace and purpose. These generations of women altered the trajectory of the 20th century. We stand on their shoulders. We've been given their wisdom. Over time, we've added some of our own. We are poised to offer it to those who are just beginning, those who will be here long after we enter a different reality. This wisdom, Menaga wisdom, is about doing, not lecturing. It is imperfect, but persistent. Small kindnesses, deep listening, cheerful support, fun celebrations, and I see you kind of acceptance. Such a hard thing to do when we don't quite get it. Menaga wisdom is about trusting the next generation to create something beautiful. And perhaps that idea of hope for a meaningful future is Camp Menaga's most enduring lesson.
Thank you for the many lessons that we can glean from that wonderful message. I hope that you will join us after the service in the gathering room for a bit of coffee and conversation. And after about 15 minutes, we'll come back over to this side of the sanctuary for a talk back with Kathleen. Our closing words are For the Women by Amina Brown. We carry water on our heads, babies on our backs, joy in our hips. We till the fertile ground in our garden, in our soul, in our children. We bear fruit, we grow, we watch things grow. We yield fruit in season. We stand in front of fire, on the front lines, in front of desk, behind camera, behind pulpit. In the face of war, we face evil, we face violence, we face obstacles. We stare struggle in the eyes and dare struggle to stare back. We take flour, add water, make tortillas, make porridge, make naan, make dumplings, make biscuits. Make do with our hands that knead the dough and build the bricks and raise the babies and teach the children and fight poverty. We carry community in our wombs, on our backs, in our arms, in our chests. We take our words and gather them like so many sticks until they ignite. We build fire, and around that fire we sing. We sing because a song always gives birth. We sing because a song always knows where the soul is wounded. We sing because a song always reminds us that we are at home in this body, in this skin, and around that fire we dance. We dance to the tune of liberation. We dance for the women who have gone before us, for the women who are no longer here, for the women who cannot speak. We dance and fight for justice until every woman is free. Hear the drums in the rhythm we walk, as we speak our mother tongue, as we say prayers in our mother's tongues. We find our language in banana leaves, in avocado, in mango and yams, in rice and seaweed. We tell our stories while braiding the hair of our daughters, while standing in front of a boardroom, while building a business, while frying chicken. We tell our stories while leading the way in protest, while going to school, while performing surgery. Because nobody gets to tell our stories for us, because our stories belong to us, because we belong to each other. We raise our hands, we raise our voices, we raise the next generation. We create, we pioneer, we invent. We look ahead, we know the way, we see no path, so we use our feet to build one for the ones who will come after us. We leave a legacy in the sound of our laughter, and every day we build a world. Thank God for women. We extinguish this flame, a mere wisp of matter and process, almost as insubstantial as the thought of it. Yet our civilization has harnessed the power of such a flame to drive and shape a new world. So may it be with the power of our thoughts that in truth and love, they may drive and shape a new world. May it be so.
Okay, we're gonna sing hymn number 108. Rise, please.
I'm gonna sing a different song than it says in there. I changed my mind. Got lakes and singing in my head. If my words did glow, this is a Grateful Dead song. If my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp I strung, would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it close as it were your own? It's a hand-me-down. The thoughts are broken, perhaps it's better left unsaid. Well, I don't know, don't really care. Let there be songs to fill the air, ripple in still water, where there is no pebble tossed, no wind to blow. Reach out your hand. If your cup be empty, if your cup is full, may it be again, let it be known. There is a fountain that was not made By the hand of man, there is a road. No simple highway between the dawn and the dark of night. And if you go, no one may follow. That path is for your steps alone. Ripple in still water, where there is no pebble tossed, no wind to blow, and you who choose to lead must follow. And if you fall alone, and if you stand, then who's to guide you? If I knew the way, I would take you home. La da da da, everybody up. La da da da, la da, la da, la da 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 da, la da da da.
Thank you so much for joining us this Sunday morning.